Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, you are seeing my kind of new version of Araby. I'm going to cover each of these units, briefly discuss how I made them, the lore, how I intend to run them, and if I will expand the units. All of this stemmed from two miniatures. These are the two miniatures. I made a completely unique Saracen Dwarf of Araby, and I changed my banner from my original one. So you're gonna see the work in progress from these two, thoughts in depth about this guy, and if you stay longer, you'll see the whole concept for my Mark II Araby. So I hope you guys enjoy. So guys, just for a very short inspiration slash background for this army, I have so many videos talking about it, but I want to clarify a couple of things. This army, the first one, I can only use Citadel and GW miniatures. This has been a rule of mine for every single army, hence I have to be a bit more creative. The second rule is everything should be heavily converted. If you want to see certain units, please check out my Araby playlist for more in-depth green stuffing and inspiration. Third rule, this army is not meant to be a full-fledged Araby army. Because of Cathay being released, I have now turned this army into a dog of war slash mercenary army. I wanted to give the idea that you're just seeing a glimpse of the power of Araby and not the full might. So I hope you guys enjoyed that quick background, and here's the work in progress of the new character. So here's the base model I used for my Saracen Dwarf. It is a Citadel Advanced Dungeon & Dragon Dwarger, and a really classic miniature that I think was perfect for the job. And again, apologies if this will trigger you. I trimmed a lot of the miniature, leaving the face, the hands, and the overall pose. Just from the miniature alone, I could already envision him wearing the clothing of the Saracen, so it was perfect. Onto the sculpting, I'm going to put 4 small balls of green stuff for the tunic, and I'm going to briefly show you how I blended in. I grabbed the silicone shovel tool, and you can see I am just gradually pushing it into the corners of the belt and the waistband. Once you have it very smooth, you can work on the rest of the tunic, but that first step is quite crucial. And here you see what I'm talking about. Once I have all the edges the way I want, I can then drag the rest of the green stuff using this new tool to constantly flatten everything. This is my preferred tool for a lot of clothing, as it does make everything smooth. Once I have the overall shape, I can then go back with the shovel tool or the sharp tool and get some different angles and maybe waves. So here you see how smooth I got it with just the tools. It's already taking shape, and I'm really happy with the overall look. And moving on to the hat, you can see I start by putting a pretty small ball of green stuff. Grabbing the point silicone tip tool, I gently roll it onto the head. So for a lot of the sculpting, the reason I gently roll it, it helps make a very strong connection. So when I go and start fiddling with the green stuff, it doesn't fall off. I do know this is a problem for a lot of people who start sculpting. All you have to do is make sure it has a good connection before you start messing with it. And just after a couple minutes, I have a very nice pointed little hat that I can start adding the finer details. I'll let it sit for about 45 minutes. And onto the back cape, I rolled this onto the cutting board actually, and make sure I use my X-Acto knife to get the measurements. And then I grab my sharp tool and I add all of the folds. Again, I'll have a tutorial up for the YouTube members relatively soon, as I'm sculpting more of them. But already you can see how nice the cape is looking, and it's matching what I want from the talisman miniature. And here's the model. There's a massive jump. He is completely done. I added all of the scale mail, fixed the boots, added the sleeves, added a scabbard, and added the top Araby type headwear you see from the talisman miniature. I really wanted to get more sculpting videos from this guy, but I was having too much fun. But I do intend to make a full sculpting video again for YouTube members of this style of heavily clothing warrior miniature. And I think that'll interest a lot of people because fantasy miniatures do tend to have a lot more cloth. And onto the painting, I basically painted him in the same formula as my Araby. It did take a little bit to jog my memory, but I started base coating all of the flesh in a Vallejo tan. And when I paint these Araby miniatures, I actually work from the inside out. They have so many bright colors that I find it much easier to paint all the smaller details first and then make my way to the larger surfaces. And here you can see most of the flesh is fully painted and I have the eyes picked out. Again, the hardest details are out of the way and I can make my way to paint the rest of him. And he's very glistening. A lot of the cloth for my Araby I used Army Painter Dark Tone, and it'll knock back once I put the matte varnish. And the back cape is my favorite part of the Araby project. It's such a strong and insanely bright color that I love it. Here you're going to see me just add another highlight or two. Once you add that yellow, this thing really pops, and even for my camera, it's having a little bit of a hard time capturing the true color. It's making it look a little bit brighter than it is in reality, but it really does pop from the tabletop. So I just put it on the sharpest edges. Moving on to the standard bearer of the unit, this was the original miniature. Lovely details on conversion. However, the banner itself I did not like. This was made last minute for an event, so I had to make a replacement. And this was the replacement banner. It's in a half finished state, so all I did was finish painting it, and I'm going to show you a little bit of how I pin it. That is a toothpick. All I do is use a drill bit, pin a hole in it, and stick it in. And this is the new banner. I'm much happier with it, and I feel like this inspired me to continue the Araby project. So guys, you just saw the work in progress and all of the work that went into this little guy. I'm really happy with the way he turned out. If we focus on the paint job a bit more, he looks exactly like the Talisman Saracen miniatures, which I adore so much. And you'll see him in the unit shortly as I showcase what I have for the Mark II version of my Araby. But this Saracen Dwarf, I think, perfectly captures everything I love about Oldhammer and my slight different take on Araby. Everything worked really well on the pose, and I think this miniature was supposed to also showcase why I love converting these Oldhammer Citadel miniatures. You can turn these Dwargers or D&D miniature perfectly into Warhammer the Old World, and you can just see how well everything with a slight tweak here and there can become totally different. So let's go to the paint job. I painted him exactly as I painted every other miniature in my Araby, and I think the back is the most striking part about him. This vibrant orange I have in my Araby colors, I really do love painting all the time, and I think the back of this dwarf is my favorite part of the miniature, mainly due to the colors. And I'm just surprised how natural everything kind of looks on him. I will sound a bit arrogant and say, if I didn't know any better, this one definitely looks like he could have been an official Oldhammer miniature. And I think that's mainly because I spent a lot of time looking at how they sculpted the original Saracen for Talisman, and I wanted to ensure everything looked the same. I'm really proud of the very tiny spear for the dwarf, and just the little feather to match the old miniatures. And then the shield, really happy with it. I ended up going for a design very simple, but all of my Saracens have a different design, and this one was inspired by, I believe it pronounced henna designs that you see on the beautiful like hand art they do. And so I got inspired by that, and I'm really happy. Something simple but not over the top. Just everything about this guy is fantastic, and I think he he might be the unit champion just because it's a kind of funny to have this Saracen dwarf all mad and yelling. And I'm really pleased with like the teeth, and this guy has so much detail. It's just fantastic. Now, I think you saw in the work in progress, he had a straight sword, so I had to sculpt this small scabbard and put a gem, and I think all these small tweaks add so much. And I put that little pouch in the corner. Just all these simple details kind of make the model have more story, and just really happy with him overall. So that's just a quick painting update on this guy. Really happy with how he turned out. And then I'm going to move on to the whole Araby army as it stands as of right now. And guys, so here is the whole Araby army for Mark II. So before I show some close-ups of certain units, I will note you don't see my sea creature, half of the converted models here, and a couple others, as I will keep them for sure, but these are the miniatures that 100% I'm very proud of and actually represent the Araby I want to showcase. So the army is going through some changes, but I want the units to look a bit more disciplined, hence why I think I removed about 10 models from my Araby army, and you can watch my old showcase to see which ones got dropped. I'm now going to go focus on each unit, kind of explain the lore and how I'm going to add it, or if the unit is done. So guys, like before for my Nurgle, I'm going to have the Araby in the background and focus on each unit. So up first, we have, I'm going to call this unit Lastro Lupintal's Magical Troupe or Caravan. And the idea is I want this unit to represent the almost mystical elements of Araby, or assassin vibe slash carnival troupe, if that makes sense. So this Dog of War army of Araby is meant to be just that. I know recently Araby's been picking up a lot of steam, and I'm super happy to see that. However, just like the release of Cathay, I want my Araby to represent like a almost sword for hire feel, as Araby has yet to make a full reveal. So I want my army to show a taste of what actually hides in this forgotten realm. And I think having the Dog of War slash merchant feel fits it. And I want this unit to represent that especially. Lastro Lupintal is this dwarf in the front, and I won't go into too much detail. You can watch my previous work in progress of this whole army, but Lastro Lupintal is a dwarf of legend from Citadel, and I think he is one that is one of the best dwarves they produced. He has so much charm, and I just love the way he looks. I do have a second one that I'm going to convert. He is unconverted, but I want him to be the unit champion, as he just looks like he's in charge. Next to him is the first animal I want to be in the unit. It is the Talisman Wizard Toad, and if you're a YouTube member, this is what you're named after actually. So the Wizard Toad is a beautiful miniature from Citadel, and pardon the paint on my finger, I've been painting some more Araby. And this guy is just beautiful, almost no conversions, just had to build the base up. And with the little fez hat he has, I think this guy definitely fits into this carnival troupe merchant kind of exotic feel. Another miniature that fit right into this unit is the Grinks from Rogue Trader. I originally painted this for my undead army. However, looking at it more and more, it kind of fits that vibe of maybe like in Egypt, the cats have a lot of sacred ties to it, and just having this big cat feels like it fits right in home with this unit of animal companions. Really gracious to have this model, very hard to come by, and I would love a second one, but probably never going to happen. Then we have this miniature here. Now, if you watched my videos for a while, you'll know this was one of my first Araby conversions, and she is a F3 barbarian from Citadel. I think her name was like Fatima, but I had to sculpt the mouth scarf all of the leg clothing, this hand, and I had to remake the sword. So it kind of gives that like Prince of Persia kind of feel. Again, my Araby is meant not to be just from one region getting inspired. I want it to be like a Turkish, Indian, Ottoman, just a mixture of all these cultures. And I just love the way she came out, and gave her a red-tailed hawk flying over. This hawk came from a wood elf character. I forgot his name, but like Falcon or something. She's a great model, and I'm really proud of all the sculpting. I was inspired by the Hedonites of Sanesh, and I think she fits right into it. I'm gonna make a couple more like this, as she is very badass. One of my favorite miniatures in this army. Then we have another miniature that was completely like 95% sculpted. This is supposed to be my assassin, and he's actually based off a Lord of the Rings 1985 Corsair, but I had to add this whole hand scarf covering the mouth, repose the legs completely, and sculpt the tabard. And this monkey comes from the Citadel flying carpet. He's actually kind of naked, and I had to sculpt all of the fur on it. And this guy is awesome. I had so much fun with the free hand, and I think he just looks amazing. And so I'm really proud of this guy. Then the last miniature for Lastro's, let's say, mystical troupe is actually the Citadel wizard who comes with the flying carpet. He had another pose where he's like laying down on the carpet. This is a standing up one. This guy had almost no conversions besides the monkey. It was naked, like no fur. So I had to sculpt all the fur on it. And then this guy, I just went to town on the freehand and had a ton of fun with it. You can see all the flower petals I did, and such a joyous model to paint. But yeah, so this unit will probably represent, if I play them as wood elves, as war dancers. And if I play dark elves, I might make this unit the executioners or something elite, as I want to expand this unit to be at least 10 to 15 miniatures. And this unit will have this very exotic, almost elite feel to them, as they all look like characters. And then of course they have all these animal companions, so this unit is supposed to be very distinct. So let me move on to the next unit. The next unit is actually a large chunky one. It is Midas and his eunuch bodyguard / merchant. So this unit originally was supposed to be like witch elves, and I kind of wanted to have the same vibe. So if you know the lore, Midas was a dog of war character with Sheik, and basically you could upgrade them to be on the cart, which I have, and they could get these bodyguards. Again, I have earlier videos that go into extensive detail. Long story short, these guys are meant to be eunuchs that Midas and Sheik have, that are bounded to them. But I also wanted a twist and make this like a merchant guild. So this is supposed to be Midas's merchant guild, where you have his bodyguards and merchants who supply the money to continue his escapades. So of course the unit champion or character would be Midas. You can watch a earlier video. This guy is 60% sculpted, and I wanted to make my own version of the fabled dog of war character. Really proud of him. And again, if you want to see how much is sculpted, please go through my old catalog of videos and you'll find it in the Araby playlist. Really fantastic model, and I'm really proud of him. And of course, Sheik Yadash, I think I'm pronouncing it wrong again. He is untouched, as I love this miniature and had so much fun with all of the freehand. So these two are quite important to this unit. Let me put them aside, as I have a lot of guys in this unit. This little halfling is actually supposed to be almost like an announcer for Midas. So he's supposed to be always next to him, just a unit filler, and I think a lot of character to him. This one is unconverted. He comes from Citadel's old halfling line, I believe 1985 or 87, and a beautiful miniature, very simple. Moving on to the most important conversions would be the Mordheim, I believe Cathay or Araby merchants. So I got these three in a lot and they were badly damaged. You can find the original model if you look up the Mordheim catalog. And what I had to do was essentially resculpt their arms. So this guy got a whole face resculpt, the two arms and the weapon are completely sculpted. This guy here is my favorite one. I had to sculpt this arm completely, fix the face, and make this arm with this cool green stuff blade, and I really do love him. So these guys are like these bodyguards that Midas saved from this galley. And then the unit standard bearer, again, I had to sculpt the arms, make the banner. Overall, these guys were my prized possessions in this unit, as they required so much work. And moving on to these guys, let me just put them all in the front, as I did not plan this video very well. So moving along, we got some Citadel Cleric miniatures. I think I'll put these wizards and clerics all here. And to make a long story short, I had to modify a lot of these cleric models to fit this unique bodyguard merchant feel. So this guy was a Citadel wizard that I had to extensively convert, put robes, and you can see I tried matching the Araby merchants from Mordheim, or the Cathay merchants, whatever they're called. And I wanted to, you can tell I wanted the colors to all have a similar feel. So gray, white robes, accents of the blue and orange. This cleric, for example, I had to put the cloth in the front, put the waistband, and I had to sculpt this giant leaf thing. This is the musician, and sculpt the mustache. Some models I didn't convert were these three Citadel Cleric miniatures. Now these guys, they kind of give more of a bodyguard vibe, and I like it in the sense that they have the proper facial hair, they have the robes, the scale mail, and the maces, but at the same time they look like they're keeping track with this guy for a tally. And then we can introduce the beginning of the Merchant Guild idea. So this guy is a Citadel, I want to say noble from their villagers line, and I love the way he turned out. I'm gonna go back and add some freehand to match Sheik over here. But the idea is this unit of bodyguards, or the Merchant Guild, follow Midas and this group, and they also employ some of their own bodyguards with Midas. So Midas has the main eunuchs, then this secondary merchant brings his own accountant and some more bodyguards. To make this unit 20 strong, I'm gonna add a couple more of these merchants, and then maybe one or two more of these guys. So the whole unit has this idea of like a merchant's guild, but they will always follow Midas, as he is the main one, and with his feats and his status, they have to listen. So that's this unit, and if I play them as Wood Elves, they probably will be playing as that elite unit. They have like two-handed great weapons, Wildwood Rangers. So these guys would be Wildwood Rangers, or in Dark Elves, they'd be Witch Elves. So let me move on to the next unit. So the third unit is my Saracens. Now, I didn't do a close-up like I did of the Dwarf, but this is the new standard bearer, and you just saw in the work in progress what it used to look like. I had to rush the original banner for my last event a couple months ago. Now that I had time, I can make it the way I want, and I think it looks amazing. This golden skull trying to intimidate those who they approach. And this whole unit, the main idea is they're all supposed to be based off of the Talisman Saracen miniatures, these guys. In fact, this whole army started off with this Saracen right here. This guy I painted for Talisman many months ago, and I loved the miniature so much that I decided, why not make a Araby army? So without this model and this paint job, I probably would never have this Oldhammer army. And just the way he looks, I knew I wanted a unit. These guys do look like they're directly from Araby. And you can see this is the only pose they made. I had to make some modified ones just by turning the head. Again, I have more videos in my old playlist, but the unit will be bulked out by them. I have about 6 more on the painting queue, and they'll fill in the back rank. But the front rank, I wanted something a bit more unique. So I made these 2 guys from Citadel Hobgoblins. I had to sculpt the whole face mask and the hoods and add these tabards. They were inspired by 300 the Immortals, but unfortunately to hunt down more of these guys, even with all the people I know, it cost too much. But the way I made them, I just have 2 of them. They look cool enough where I don't mind making them in the front rank, almost like the Saracens. The basic troop have these 2 silent guardians protecting the command. And then the command, obviously, the banner guy is the talisman miniature, and I think he is just fantastic. I had all of these crazy free hands, and I'm really proud of it. I just love the pose. Just by turning the head, it changes the whole feel of the miniature, and I'm really proud of him. So he'll be the standard bearer. My musician is this Citadel Saracen miniature. He comes from their villager line, and I just love the way he looks. He kind of looks, mean and in charge. And he fits it because he has so much orange on him. Then the unit champion for now, which I think is really funny, is going to be the Dwarf Saracen, and he fits perfectly with the Talisman guys, heavily inspired by them. And now you would have these 2 Immortals protecting the full command. So the unit, this one will look more like a real unit. You'll see all of the back with these guys, but the front rank with this command. And when I play Wood Elves, these guys will count as Eternal Guard, or if I play them as Dark Elves, they will play as the normal Dark Elf Warrior with spears. So I'm excited that this unit finally is bulking out to be a real one. In my original Araby, I had to use these guys as pseudo Corsairs and spread them out in a separate unit, but I can finally run them almost as like a legit unit of spearmen from Araby. And I probably, as a nod to the old unit, call these guys like maybe Mukhtar's Death Commandos, as that is a regiment of renown, not the name Mukhtar, but I believe Death Commandos was their name. Those miniatures are just too hard to come by, so I'm making like my own version of them. Maybe I'll find a name for this dwarf and then call them Death Commandos based off of that. Let me move on to the next unit. So the next unit is like a Corsair unit, and you'll notice if you have been following the channel that quite a few of them are missing. These are the only ones that I actually deem acceptable and properly done. The remaining couple I felt like I definitely rushed, but these ones really resonate with me and give the idea of true Araby pirates and maybe gun for hires. So let's start with this guy. This is a Citadel wizard, but the way he looks, he's like missing an eye, and he looks so unique. He was holding a scroll on this arm, but I had cut it off and resculpted this, and I think he just looks more professional, and overall it just looks like he is like a main character, so he will be the unit champion. And I like to say he might be a veteran of one of the many crusades Bretonnia has done to Araby. And that's why he looks the way he looks. And he leads this ragtag team of just pirates. These guys are actually hardly converted. The idea of the army again is to use as many quote-unquote Araby miniatures produced by Citadel's long history. The dwarf here is actually an unreleased Citadel, what are they called? A special name for them, but he is an unreleased dwarf character made in the vein for Araby. I'm very grateful I managed to get him, and just love him, and he fits perfectly into the unit. The next couple miniatures, these 2 come from these, or actually these 3 come from the Citadel's fighter range and or original Dogs of War. I believe 1986, maybe the date might be slightly wrong. This guy definitely looks like a bosun, a corsair, and he ticks the box for Araby. These two, I know this guy's name is Fighter Astol. He does give me strong Araby vibes, and I think with the colors and then the headband, he'll fit in. This fighter, I kind of forgot the name for him, but he has a similar clothing attire, and he does come with a quiver with arrows and the bow on the back. So obviously you can see most of these guys are armed with ranged weapons. And the last one here is a talisman scout. Again, he does have the clothing that makes him fit fairly well into this unit. So when I play Wood Elves, I'm required to take a minimum unit of Glade Guard, and I feel like these Corsairs give that vibe. This veteran pirate has all these guys armed with ranged weapons, and then the guy in the back, if I need to bulk it out, I have to get a couple more of these pirates. I intend to make this unit 10 strong. In Wood Elf games, they are Glade Guard, and in games of Dark Elves, I would run them as Corsairs and maybe Dark Shards, just depending on if I can bulk out the unit with more of these pirate-looking guys. Let me move on to the last couple of units and go through it because it's been a little bit of a long video. So two characters that will always be with the army is my Djinn or Genie for Araby. This guy was a conversion. Again, my whole playlist is a lot of detail of how I did it, but it's a Citadel Air Elemental. I sculpted the lantern, added the clothing, and he perfectly fits into the army. Really proud of everything from the freehand to the blending. He would count as, in my Dark Elf army, a sorcerer on Dark Pegasus, or in Wood Elf games, he will be a wizard on a unicorn. Or is it a unicorn? I think it's a unicorn. It's a 40 by 60 mil base. So not much to say about this miniature as everything about it fits what I want. This character here was another miniature I'm super proud of. This is supposed to be my sultan for this Dog of War army. Maybe he's one of the Araby princes or a disgraced general who decided to become a Dog of War. But it is an old Citadel fighter that had no name. What I had to do was add this beautiful falcon. He came from an old Citadel Viking, had to put it on the shoulder, and then I had to primaricize him. He was a little bit shorter. I grabbed the boots from the same Viking and I made him taller. So this miniature I'm really proud of. He has this beautiful dragon helm. I did have to sculpt the I guess like this headwear to match the look of the talisman guys. So I think that helps connect them together. But this miniature is such a favorite of mine that he'll always be a glade captain, a noble, or just some sort of character, just because he has this red-tailed hawk on him, and I really love the way he looks. Very unique model, and very happy to have him. So let me wrap up the last two units of the army. And the last units have such two separate videos, so I don't want to, beat a dead horse. But I have Suleiman, the Saracen that came from Bretonnia 5th edition. There is a whole extensive video of the conversion. He is 60% sculpted, such an extensive conversion, and he is so striking with the other bird from the Wood Elf character to the pose and painting. Definitely a model that I am super proud of, and nothing I can say. He'd run as a Dark Elf noble or a lord, a glade captain or glade lord, anything I want on a horse, he will run as that. Then I have here the actual Dog of War unit, I think Mukhtar's Desert Raiders. Maybe I'm butchering the name, or whatever the actual name is. It's been a while. I painted them up. I have a whole video going over them. The only difference is all the shields are not the original shields, as I like these Oldhammer shields. I had to add the bucklers, and I put in these gold like wings for freehand. And then for the blind guy, I freehanded this Emperor's Children kind of logo because they have this theme of the red-tailed hawk. and I think it fits perfectly. Having to paint this on both sides was a real pain, but I'm glad it worked out. And then the horses, I know you guys really love them. For YouTube members, I will probably in the near future be painting each horse for you guys, so you see how I did it, as each one was a labor of love, and I love the way it looks. This unit is a real favorite of mine, and a lot of passion to put it to get all these. The colors are very Oldhammer, but I love the way it looks. It's very striking on the table. I am missing the actual guy. I think Mukhtar is his name. I always mistaken this guy for him, but I am missing the real one. He's actually on my work desk, as I might put him on a camel. But yeah, this is the last unit. I run these guys as Cold One Knights, or if I play Wood Elves, they would be Kurnoth Riders. So there you guys have it. This is the current state of my Mark II Araby. It will be a lot more infantry based, and I'm pretty excited, as by cutting off all of the random units, I really feel like I really am shifting the tone to a more Dog of War Araby army, and already just from this view, I'm really pleased with the way it's forming. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was definitely longer, and I hope you still enjoyed it, especially with the new character here and the new banner. So as always, thanks guys for watching. Really hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next update.